Last time I went to my jacket pocket, it didn't work out so well, but let's see. For those of you that don't know me, I'm not surprised. I'm actually the least likely in my family to give a speech. That honor is usually reserved for my brother Glenn, who is by the bar. That's a good spot for him. And he actually did a fantastic job giving a speech yesterday at the rehearsal dinner, so cheers to Glenn. Yep. But anyway, I'm Brian, and I'm the second youngest of 5 McGowan children, which means that Kevin is my one and only younger brother, or younger sibling. And although younger than me, I do look up to him. And I do mean that literally, because in case you didn't notice, he's taller than me. Pause for laughter. Good. Yep. So first, I would just like to thank Andy and Linda for the wonderful evening so far, and for what's to come. I'd also like to thank Neil and Janice for the wonderful rehearsal dinner last night. I also wanted to congratulate them for hopefully being the last ever wedding-related thing you'll ever have to host. Maniacs for having 5 kids, am I right? So this is going to be a really fun night. We're in a room filled with talented musicians, and I'm not just talking about Kevin, Michelle, all their friends, the band behind me. I'm actually also talking about the McGowan siblings themselves, in case you didn't realize that. And so Kevin is often known as the musician in the family, but little did you know he was not the only musically gifted child of Janice and Neil. So Glenn was actually a very talented trumpet player. He has several accolades to go with that, and I'm sure he'd love to fill your ear with that all night long. Sean did once buy an electric guitar. He eventually mastered the incredibly challenging musical scores of Jingle Bells and Old MacDonald Had a Farm. His music career did end there, sadly, and his guitar can still be found in our parents' basement to this day. Lauren, I don't really know. I think she might have played the recorder or something. I'm sorry, Lauren. And then, of course, me. So many of you might not know, but I was actually the first drummer in the family. I was once referred to as a young prodigy by my own unbiased parents, so you know that's a real thing. So who knows what would have happened if I didn't break my arm in 8th grade and actually continued playing? Maybe Kevin would be working in credit risk management, and maybe I'd be sitting right there watching Kevin give this speech. But I'm just kidding, obviously, because that would have required Kevin to pay attention in math class. Which, boom, roasted. Come on. But anyway, looking back, I'd like to say Kevin is really my excuse to hold on to my childhood as long as I could. Whether it was playing with Legos, G.I. Joes, Star Wars action figures, really much longer than I care to admit. And even now, I would say Kevin is still my excuse now for spontaneity and fun. So not long ago in January, we had a ski trip planned in New Hampshire. Weather was awful, but as my father always says, a bad day in the mountain is better than a good day in the office, which is very true. We used that as an excuse to go back to Boston and frolic around for a night. And then we also had what I would say is the first ever executed Loon Mountain pub crawl. Which obviously is going to each of the 5 bars on Loon Mountain all in one afternoon. Mom and Dad, I'm sorry you found out this way, but hopefully that explains when we came into the condo at 4 p.m. When we're really done skiing at noon. That might explain our behavior when we saw you that afternoon. And while I could go on and on telling stories, for those interested, you can find me at the bar once I'm done with this speech. But I'd sum up a relationship quite simply. He's been my best friend and partner since day one, and we're always there for each other, even though we live 879 miles apart, and yes, I did look that up. But enough of Kevin and on to the more important one here in front of us today, Michelle. So Michelle, you look beautiful as always. And one thing I like to share is that actually I was the first McGowan family member to have met Michelle. And I had the pleasure of not only meeting her, but also had the honor of hearing her beautiful voice on the stage at Acme on Broadway in Nashville, which was a lot of fun. And just so you know, Michelle, we're all secretly hoping to hear that voice. Totally. Yep. Yep. Pause for cheering. So I knew Michelle was a keeper. The first night when I met her, she came right up to Annie, my wife, and I, introduced herself. Kevin was nowhere to be found, but Michelle came right up, knew our names, knew everything about us. Fast forward a little bit to later in that evening, Michelle and Annie were hugging and dancing in the front row of some live music, also in Nashville, and I knew that she was going to be here to stay. Since then, it's been a pleasure to watch the love you two have for each other grow. You truly have a very special relationship, including your own very weird language. And I couldn't be happier to welcome Michelle into our family as another sister. So everyone, please join me in raising your glass and toasting to the bride and groom. Thank you.